Benjamin Netanyahu just humiliated Keir Starmer on live television in front of world leaders. And what happened next has thrown Britain into absolute chaos. At 2:47 p.m. yesterday, the Israeli Prime Minister stood before cameras in Jerusalem and said 6 words that may end Starmer's career. Britain has betrayed its oldest ally. The room went silent. Diplomats gasped. And within minutes, every British newspaper, every television network, every social media platform erupted. Netanyahu didn't stop there. He held up classified documents showing secret communications between Downing Street and Hamas-linked organizations. Documents that Labour swore didn't exist. If you want to understand how Britain's reputation just collapsed on the world stage, hit that subscribe button right now, because what we're about to reveal will shock you to your core. Here's what sparked this diplomatic nuclear bomb. 11 days ago, Starmer made a decision that veteran foreign policy experts are calling political suicide. His government quietly suspended arms export licenses to Israel, citing humanitarian concerns in Gaza. The announcement was buried in a Friday afternoon press release, the classic tactic politicians use when they want to hide bad news. But Netanyahu wasn't having it. His response was swift, calculated, and devastating. The Israeli Prime Minister immediately cancelled a scheduled visit to London, expelled 3 British diplomats from Tel Aviv, and then did something nobody expected. He went public with evidence that Labour had been secretly negotiating with Palestinian groups that Israel classifies as terrorist organizations. His exact words were chilling. Standing at a podium flanked by Israeli flags, Netanyahu's voice was cold, precise, deliberate. While British soldiers fought alongside us against terrorism for decades, their current government stabs us in the back. Not in private negotiations, not through diplomatic channels, through betrayal. The response was swift and devastating. Within hours, the hammer fell. The United States issued a statement expressing deep concern about Britain's reliability as a NATO partner. France and Germany stayed conspicuously silent. A diplomatic slap that speaks volumes. According to senior officials at the Foreign Office, Britain, standing among Western allies, just suffered its worst blow since the Suez Crisis of 1956. Sources inside Whitehall described the atmosphere as complete panic. Senior civil servants who've served under 5 prime ministers say they've never witnessed anything like this. One permanent secretary, speaking on condition of anonymity, described it as watching a slow-motion car crash where everyone can see the disaster coming but nobody can stop it. Meanwhile, British veterans who fought alongside Israeli forces in counter-terrorism operations are absolutely livid. Colonel David Harrison, retired from the Parachute Regiment, recorded a video that's already hit 3 million views, standing in full dress uniform with his medals proudly displayed. This 71-year-old hero didn't mince words. "I lost brothers fighting the same enemies Israel fights today. We bled together. We died together. And now Starmer spits on that sacrifice to appease people who would destroy everything we fought for." His voice cracked with emotion. Tears filled his eyes. That clip is being shared by veterans groups across Britain, each share another nail in Labour's coffin. While these heroes who risked everything for Britain's security feel abandoned and betrayed, Starmer and his cabinet enjoy luxury dinners at Chequers protected by security paid for by taxpayers. We're talking about ministers earning $150,000 salaries plus expenses while veterans struggle to afford heating bills. The contrast is so stark, so morally obscene that even lifelong Labour supporters are saying enough is enough. But wait, because there's another layer to this that makes it even worse. Jewish communities across Britain are reporting a massive spike in anti-Semitic incidents since Starr's announcement. The Community Security Trust documented 127 separate incidents in just the last 9 days. A 340% increase compared to the same period last month. Synagogues in London, Manchester, and Leeds have received threatening messages. Jewish school children are being harassed on their way to class. Rabbi Jonathan Goldstein of the Jewish Leadership Council held an emotional press conference yesterday where he broke down in tears. "We thought Labour had learned from its dark days under Corbyn," he said, his voice shaking. "We thought those days were behind us. But this government's actions have unleashed forces that put Jewish Britons in genuine danger." The Jewish Chronicle, Britain's oldest Jewish newspaper, ran a front page that simply said, "Betrayed again." The accompanying editorial called Starmer's decision a stain on Britain's moral conscience that will take generations to repair. Polls show that 89% of British Jews have lost confidence in Labour's ability to represent their interests and concerns. Then something unprecedented happened that nobody saw coming. King Charles broke 70 years of royal protocol and issued a statement that political historians are calling explosive. At a private reception for Commonwealth ambassadors at Buckingham Palace, he delivered remarks that were supposed to remain confidential but were leaked within hours. Britain's strength has always rested on honoring our commitments to allies who stand with us in darkness. The king stated with unmistakable gravity in his voice, "When we abandon those commitments, we abandon ourselves." Palace insiders reveal that Charles personally demanded multiple drafts of those remarks, insisting every word be carefully chosen. Senior courtiers say they've never seen him so determined to make his position clear. The optics are absolutely devastating for Starr. The constitutional monarch who is required to remain politically neutral felt compelled to speak out. That's how catastrophic this crisis has become. What makes this even more remarkable is that Charles consulted with his son, Prince William, before making the statement. Sources close to the Prince of Wales say William strongly encouraged his father to speak out, calling the situation a matter of national character that transcends normal political boundaries. The fallout hit British markets like a sledgehammer. The pound sterling dropped 2.3% against the dollar in a single trading session, wiping £14 billion from the FTSE 100. Investment funds that specialize in British government bonds saw massive sell-offs as international investors questioned Britain's stability. Tech companies with Israeli partnerships announced they're reconsidering London offices. One anonymous CEO told the Financial Times, "Why would we invest in a country that treats its friends like enemies?" But here's where it gets really interesting. Major defense contractors are now threatening to relocate operations out of Britain entirely before anyone else. Systems, which employs over 90,000 Britons, has quietly begun exploring Irish and Polish alternatives for its European headquarters. Rolls-Royce's defense division held emergency board meetings about moving sensitive projects offshore. These aren't just jobs at risk. These are high-paying engineering and technology positions that form the backbone of Britain's advanced economy. Union leaders are furious. Sharon Graham of Unite the Union, traditionally a Labour ally, publicly condemned Starmer's recklessness. He's gambling with workers' livelihoods to score cheap political points with the far left, she said in an interview that went viral within hours. #BeBritain Betrayed trended globally for 37 consecutive hours, generating over 400 million impressions. Protests erupted across major cities. In Manchester, over 8,000 demonstrators marched with Israeli flags. In Birmingham Jewish community, leaders held a vigil that drew thousands. In Leeds, veterans and Jewish groups joined together for a rally that local police estimated at 12,000 people. One of the largest political demonstrations the city has seen in decades. Poll numbers tell the catastrophic story. Labour's approval rating plummeted from 39% to 24% in just 6 days. Among voters over 50, the demographic that actually shows up on election day support collapsed to 19%. A YouGov survey showed 68% of Britons belied Britain's international reputation. Even more damning, 47% of Labour's own voters said they're reconsidering their support. In Labour heartlands like Durham, Sunderland, and Stoke-on-Trent, constituency offices report being flooded with angry calls and cancelled memberships. One Labour MP from the Northeast speaking anonymously admitted that their local party membership has dropped by a third in a single week. Inside Number 10, ministers are at each other's throats. Emergency cabinet meetings that should last an hour stretched to 4, filled with shouting matches and recriminations. Foreign Secretary David Lammy allegedly threw a folder across the room during one heated exchange, screaming that he was never consulted about the arms suspension. Defense Secretary John Healey was overheard in the Westminster corridor saying Starmer had destroyed decades of carefully built military partnerships overnight. Shadow Defence Minister James Cartage revealed that British military chiefs privately expressed horror at the decision, with one senior general calling it the most strategically stupid move he'd witnessed in 35 years of service. WhatsApp groups with names like Save Britain and Labour Rescue have sprung up among backbench MPs plotting to remove Starr before he destroys the party completely. The question isn't if they'll move against him. It's when. Chancellor Rachel Reeves looked visibly shaken during her last public appearance. Sources say she's already updating her leadership campaign materials. Angela Rayner has started holding private dinners with influential MPs, promising a return to sensible foreign policy. The knives aren't just out. They're being sharpened. Yvette Cooper, the Home Secretary, has conspicuously distanced herself from the decision, telling allies she argued against it behind closed doors, but was overruled by Starmer's inner circle. But here's the layer that could bring down the entire government. Leaked Foreign Office documents show something absolutely explosive. If these documents are real, and if they show what multiple intelligence sources claim, then Starmer's government wasn't just suspending arms sales. They were actively working to undermine Israeli intelligence operations that protect British citizens from terrorism. Think about what that means. Spelled out in plain English. British ministers may have sabotaged counter-terrorism efforts that keep Britain safe from attacks. Documents allegedly show Downing Street staffers met with representatives from organisations that the UK itself has designated as having links to extremism. Meetings that were never disclosed to Parliament. Meetings that may have violated national security protocols. The optics of that would be absolutely devastating. If proven true, this isn't just bad diplomacy. It's potential grounds for criminal investigation. Former Attorney General Geoffrey Cox has already called for a full parliamentary inquiry, stating that if ministers conducted unauthorized negotiations with proscribed organizations, they may have committed offenses under the Terrorism Act 2000. Meanwhile, Nigel Farage is capitalizing on the chaos with surgical precision. While Starmer stutters through damage control press conferences, Farage stands before packed halls, delivering the message voters are desperate to hear. Britain once stood for something. He declares with quiet intensity. We stood with our allies. We honored our word. We defended democracy against tyranny. His voice rises with controlled passion. Now we have a government that betrays Israel, alienates America, and apologizes to those who would destroy us. No hesitation, no equivocation, just raw conviction. Reform UK membership applications crashed their website 3 times in 2 days due to overwhelming demand. The party reported receiving over £2.8 million in small donations from ordinary Britons fed up with Labour's direction. Farage's personal approval rating has shot up to 41% higher than any political leader in Britain. The polls tell the story of a political earthquake in progress. Conservatives holding steady at 31%. Labour collapsing to 23%. Reform UK surging to an unprecedented 26% within striking distance of becoming Britain's largest party. For the first time in British political history, a party founded less than 6 years ago could actually win power. Farage isn't just gaining ground. He's on the verge of a complete takeover. The next 72 hours are critical. Parliament returns Monday with an emergency debate on Britain's foreign policy. Labour MPs are demanding Starmer explain himself under oath. Senior backbenches are circulating a letter of no confidence that already has 43 signatures. Just 39 short of triggering a leadership challenge. The Conservative opposition has filed for a vote of no confidence in the government itself. If that passes, Britain faces a general election within weeks. Netanyahu has scheduled another press conference for Sunday morning, and Israeli media reports he's prepared to release even more damaging evidence about Labour's secret communications. American officials have quietly let it be known that President Biden is personally disappointed in Starmer's handling of the situation. A diplomatic rebuke that carries enormous weight. The question is no longer whether Starmer survives. It's how much damage he does to Britain on his way down. Britain is watching a government implode in real time. This crisis will be studied for decades as the moment when virtue-signaling foreign policy collided with geopolitical reality and lost spectacularly. Not since the Iraq War has Britain's international credibility taken such a devastating hit. At its epicenter stands Keir Starmer, who looks increasingly isolated, increasingly desperate, and increasingly finished. So here's the question that matters. Did Netanyahu just end Starmer's career? Or is this the wake-up call Britain desperately needed? Does Starmer resign before he's forced out? Or does he cling to power while his government burns around him? And could Nigel Farage actually become Prime Minister of Britain within months? What do you think happens next? Does Starmer survive, or is he finished? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We read every single one. And if this story shocked you as much as it shocked us, share it with everyone who needs to see what's really happening in Westminster right now. The mainstream media won't tell you the full truth, but we will, because in our next video, we're revealing the leaked documents that show exactly what Labour has been hiding. Subscribe now, because that evidence could change